Hello everyone. Welcome to our weekly Pay Evo Payment Evolution live stream. Here with you, our weekly live stream, 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, same place as usual. My name is Alif, the marketing specialist here at Payment Evolution, and today's topic is going to be around the idea of how to set benchmarks and identify benchmarks and KPIs that clearly demonstrate you're developing leaders within your organization. If you ever had an employee or maybe a colleague or a staff member where you kind of wish they were a little more proactive and you just want them to have that leadership essence. If you've ever been in a situation like that, we'll show you the KPIs you need to set for that particular individual so that they can aspire to be leaders within your organization. And of course, as usual, I have with me my manager and the guest. Well, she's always on all the time, but Juliana.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Welcome to the show, Juliana. How's today feeling for you?
Good. It's feeling like a Friday. I have some keto cupcakes, which I don't usually have, so that'll be my my Friday night party. How are you?
That's good. Awesome. I've never had keto cupcakes, so let me know how they go.
They're you don't want to have them unless you have no choice. But it's better than no cupcake. So.
Okay, cool. I haven't had a cupcake in a while, so I gotta revisit that. But yeah, doing good. It's like you said, it feels like a Friday. I follow this show on Disney Plus called WandaVision. It's by Marvel and everything. And today's episode dropped. Woke up early to watch it, and I gotta tell you, some big things happened. I won't feel like spoilers, but I'm really excited to hear the theories behind today's episode. But yeah, it's kind of a Friday.
Cool. Awesome. So what are we talking about today? Leadership?
Yeah, exactly. So again, everyone, I will be interviewing Juliana, interview style format. Again, to remind you, we're going to be talking about how to set benchmarks and KPIs to help you develop more leaders within your organization. Of course, as usual, any comments or whatever you want to engage, put them down in the comment section. We'll actually highlight them and show them live in front of everyone. So if you want to be famous, leave a comment.
Hit us up.
So let's go. Perfect. So how about we start this? Juliana, do you mind telling me what is a leader? I feel like it's a broad term. We have so many books we read about. School taught us about it. Organizations preach for it. Simon Sinek, all this stuff. What is a leader?
Yeah, I think the definition of leadership is probably going to depend a bit on your organization, your organizational culture. I think, maybe in past days, we defined leadership based on your title, based on your responsibilities. I think today, my perspective, perhaps, is more aligned with today. I think everyone is a leader. And I think that leaders are not determined by title. I think they're determined based on whether or not they actually merit a following, whether people trust them, whether they are inspiring and they invest in the growth of others. So I think leadership is critical. I think you want as many people in your organization to self-identify as a leader, even if no one reports to them, because they are just committed to the mission. So for me, that's what really matters. Are you forging ahead towards a mission, whether you're leading a team or not, or are you just doing what you're told to be, what you're being told to do? I think that's really the difference.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned something interesting. Are you being told to? Are you doing things you're told to do, or you're taking charge? So, with that being said, what's the difference between a leader and a follower, or a leader and an average person?
Yeah, and here's the thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with being a follower or an average person. I think in some areas of my life I'm a leader, and then in other areas of my life I am a follower and I'm learning. And I think we all should be comfortable with that, because you can't be great at everything. And if you think you are, you're probably not good at anything. You're delusional. So yeah. I think it's a good idea to, so I think that partly answers your question. What's the difference between a leader and a follower? I think a leader, we talked about those aspects of, is investing in other people, is inspiring other people as a resource, those kinds of things. But then also it has to be, you're not a leader if you, without having that expertise, and without being the driving force. And then
Right.
sometimes you don't have any leaders. Sometimes it is a collaboration. Maybe it's just a collaborative environment, and you have a shared goal. So there are going to be moments where there isn't one clear leader in the room, and that's okay. But I really got to look up this quote. There's this concept that if you know everything, if you say you know everything, you actually know nothing. And so I think it really you cannot be a leader. You cannot lead a conversation if you don't listen, if you don't look at your team and recognize their brilliance and their expertise. And leadership doesn't mean you have to have the answers all the time.
Yeah.
But you inspire people to collaborate, to contribute their expertise, and people want to be around you. They want to be on your team. I think that's really it. If you are if you're not the captain of your hockey team, but everybody wants to be on your team, I think that's still a form of leadership. Absolutely.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And why do you think developing leaders is important within a company or organization, in the work environment? What's the significance of that? Is it even important? Is it even relevant for the workplace? What are your thoughts on that?
I do think it's important. There are a couple of aspects here. One, we need to pursue goals. And if without leadership, you can't pursue goals, because you need somebody to say, what is the goal? You need someone to, maybe if it's a very large organization, you need someone to bring the goals together into one plan, even if that one person doesn't own them all. You need to have goals, and without leadership, you're just a bunch of people hanging out and doing stuff. And that's cool. I like hanging out, but that isn't a company. That's not a cause. That's not a movement. If you have a mission, if you have a vision, you need to also have goals, and you need leadership to either be equipped well enough to set great goals, or at minimum be the person who can say, we've got a bunch of great goals here, but I'm going to pick one, and we all agree we're going to put our heart and effort into that. The other part is I'm forgetting the other part. So there's the setting the goals, and and then the other piece is accountability. So you have to set goals. You need leadership to do that. And this is the one part of hierarchy I do believe in. Okay, because I really struggle with hierarchy generally. I think it's kind of BS. But in terms of accountability, there needs to be a hierarchy, because when push comes to shove, if I'm sitting in my room with let's say a team of 5 people, and we have a goal, and everybody's given their suggestion, and there isn't a consensus, at the end of the day, the person who's got the leadership role will be the one who's held accountable. Right. If it was a social media goal, and your social media expert set a goal that wasn't okay, failed abysmally, then that person is accountable, because they are the highest in that area. But there needs to be a place where the buck stops. There needs to be a place where the accountability, like, there's no more, well, whose fault is it? It doesn't even matter. I don't care whose fault. I don't care about blame, but there still needs to be somebody to take responsibility. And that's how I choose to make my decisions. Whenever I'm talking with team members, I'll sometimes say, you know what, I'm going to make this decision, not because I know that I'm right, but because I know this one is going to land at my feet if we fail, and this is what I feel most comfortable with. I've never gotten pushback on that. I get people kind of nod, like, I get that. I can respect that. I appreciate that you're not choosing my idea today, because if I'm wrong, that's on you. I won't be able to stand there and defend it. You'll have to. So I think that works fairly well. So yeah, leadership, you need to have goals, and you need to have accountability, and that's really where leadership comes in.
Yeah, for sure. So it's interesting you say there has to be one person at least who's accountable for the goal that you're trying to strive for, and it can't just be always widespread. So you always need that one person to just kind of hold the team along and be accountable to the goals. That was the interesting part. So let's say so how do you identify someone as a leader? So you're managing a company, right? Or you're managing a department, whatever. You have like 10 employees. When you're looking around in the office, how do you know, oh, this person's the leader, or this person's not the leader, or this one's going to be a great person, just not yet? Like, how do you identify leaders?
So I'm going to use a funny story here that kind of doesn't relate, but kind of does. When Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, a number of pets were abandoned. They weren't being prioritized to be lifted out, kind of thing. And so a lot of dogs ended up just on the streets. And there's this amazing picture that I saw, and there was a story with it, and I haven't been able to find it since. But there was a group of dogs that joined and became a pack to be together, protect each other, all of that. And there was like this tiny, it was like a chihuahua at the front.
Okay.
Literally, that was the alpha. That was the leader. And you had like a German Shepherd and like a Rottweiler and a Golden Retriever, and then this little tiny dog up front. And I think that goes to show that leadership isn't about posturing. It's not about being the loudest in the room. It's not about being the biggest presence or the one with the most years. Leadership can come in unexpected ways and forms. And ultimately, I think there are a few key elements that you're looking for. Someone who has the hunger, so somebody who has the drive. And I don't mean you are hungry to be the leader. I mean, that person is hungry for the goal, whether it's the shared goal of a team, or maybe it's a team where everyone has their own goals and responsibilities, but you have one person that is just hungry and goes after their goal like it's no one's business. And that drive, you need somebody who can promote that drive and doesn't need somebody else to promote it in them. That is just innate with them. And then I think things like listening is huge. I think if you have the drive and you can listen, I actually don't think you need to be an expert at everything else. I really don't. I think the president of a country, a company, can actually just be somebody that people like, as long as that person is hungry and listens to the brilliant people around him or her. So It's awesome if you have other things. It's awesome if you are the best at the skill that department is delivering on. That's amazing, great. But at the end of the day, leadership isn't about, it's not a dictatorship. So you need somebody who can listen, keep the momentum going, and take action. So so I think at minimum you're looking for that. I think you're looking for the listening and that drive, the action.
Right. So when you're looking around the office and you see someone taking more initiative to do whatever they need to do, and that's a clear sign for someone who's hungry. So how does there's two perspectives I want to approach this with. So first, for the person themselves, being the person who maybe isn't hungry, how do they get hungry? Besides obviously not eating, but like how do they get that?
Yeah, so I think it comes down to, like, if you don't have that hunger, I think you're in the wrong job, quite frankly. I truly believe that. And I understand that everyone's 10 is going, like a 10 interest level is going to be different, right? Like if you put us side by side, when I say I'm at a 10 of excitement and you at a 10 of excitement, depending on the topic, we could be at different places, right?
Right.
So I recognize that everyone's different. But if you are not driven, if you describe yourself as unmotivated, if that's something, if just the desire to be there and do that work is something you have to constantly encourage yourself to do, then I don't think you're in the right place. And set aside things, circumstances of like mental health issues where you don't enjoy anything. There's something in life. There's probably a few things in life that you would enjoy doing at that moment, and nobody would have to force you to do, and you wouldn't feel obligated, and it wouldn't require a paycheck. So there's a place where we're all leaders, and I think it's about finding where we belong.
Right. Okay. So that's from the person's perspective. Now outside looking in, you're someone who's looking at that person. How do you make someone hungry now? So you're not the person. Instead, you see potential. Maybe they just don't see in themselves, or maybe they're kind of slacking off. They feel lazy or they feel off, whatever it is. But you know that they can kill it. How do you inspire that hunger to be a leader?
I think it's about finding the strengths in your people and playing to those strengths. So the same way you should play to your own strengths, including what you love, because you tend to love what you're really good at. So it aligns very well. But on top of that, I think you need to look at your staff and say, this individual today, Jimmy. Jimmy is responsible for scheduling meetings, but I actually find he's lethargic, disengaged most of the time,
Right.
except for those instances where the person who, like the secretary, the person who hosts the meeting and takes notes and make sure everything is running well. When that person's away and he covers for that person, he's on fire. Well, then I need to find a way to put him where he belongs, because he's never going to shine in the thing that is not his genius zone, his strength. It's kind of like, in school, you can have a child who is able to get by in math, and then you have the child that loves math. Mm-hmm. And that child, why would you try and make that child not study math? Why would you say, we're gonna evaluate today on all of the other things that you don't do well on? Like, why not, as an employee, you want to, or an employer, you want, leader, whatever, you want to invest in that thing, make that thing that person's world, so they can, it comes naturally. When we don't have to stress, when we don't have to do something we dislike, we don't stress. If it comes naturally, we don't stress. Doing these live streams comes so naturally to me. Right. And I don't stress about it at all. If I didn't notice the clock and I look over and it's 2 minutes to live, I'm good. I'm ready. Ask me questions. Stop me on the street. Ask me questions. I'm good. That comes naturally to me. There are a lot of things that don't come naturally to me. So I think it's really important that I don't do those things that don't come naturally to me, right? Mm-hmm. It'll take me longer. It won't be as enjoyable. I won't be as motivated. So yeah, and I'm going to use a quick example. Reviews, annual reviews. I've worked in organizations and led teams where there is a set document that I need to use for reviews, and there are criteria everyone in the organization is measured on, including myself with my boss. And things like, is this person punctual? Does this person work well with others? Does this person manage their time well? It really depends on what the role is, right? I don't actually care if you're punctual if your job is to hit a deadline. I don't care if you're at work every day at 9. What I do care about is, do you understand the complexity of a project, start it roughly when it works for you, and get it done by the deadline? Collaboration. Why should I measure you on collaboration if your job is completely an isolated job and the only time you spend collaborating is at lunch? So I really think we need to see what we measure. What you measure is what people will put their effort and time into. So you might as well set goals that align with what someone's strength, measure them in a way that actually measures the thing they're supposed to do, not just what we think is good business practice. Right. And yeah, I think that then we have the opportunity to grow. Like, I want everyone on my team to be an expert. Maybe one person loves video, and maybe we don't have a huge video component on day one. That's fine. So I need you to do other things in the meantime, but we can grow that competency, that expertise. Maybe you don't want to do that much other work. And so, you know what? In the ideal world, I will give all my video work to that person. Maybe we move to a different kind of contract. And then when that is a full-time role, I have a super fan that feels trusted and respected and all of those things to devote their full time to that work. So I really think it's a win-win scenario when we do what we are great at and what we love.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, try to find what people are passionate about and then align them accordingly so then they're set up for success. What about, okay, so let's say you're working, you're a manager at a department, you've been able to identify this person is a leader, great. How do you keep them as a leader? How do you keep that hunger? How do you set the right benchmarks along the way so, a year later they're not like kind of screw this, I'm out kind of thing?
I think there are a few things that we need to take into account. One thing is when you're a leader, that usually is either an area of expertise or you're a people leader.
Right.
There are always innovations, progress, evolution in a subject matter area, always. So give them the opportunity to invest in that industry, to know what's happening. Maybe you give your people, I want you to take 10% of your week and just use that to read up on the latest blogs in your field, and the latest books in your field. Maybe it's that. Whatever the expertise is, you need to have. You can't just always be doing. If all your job is like put the widget into the bucket 100 times a day, and the bucket changes, and you weren't part of that evolution, you don't understand why it happened, you're out of work, you're useless now. Not useless, but for that specific role. So I think there needs to be a development of expertise in a field. And then the really cool thing about being a people leader, one of the things that I love is people are so complex. So you never know everything there is to know about people. There is no perfect leader. There's no perfect destination in terms of people leadership. You need to just constantly be getting to know yourself and others. So invest in that too. If you can keep someone growing, if you have somebody who's passionate about making a contribution, you also need to give them space, time to exercise the passion for growth. Otherwise, they will run out of things to contribute, right? They won't be able to be their best selves and contribute. So I think it's about, often it goes back to that listening skill. Listen, take action, and be flexible around that thinking so that you can actually create something that works for your people and as a result works for your company.
Right, exactly. You can't just be working all the time. You need to do some other things as well, right? And I guess last question before we wrap up. What do you do when a leader breaks integrity? So they're working and everything, and then midway you notice they're kind of off that path, whether it's they miss deadlines, they're not motivated, or they're lying, or they're not applying certain emails, and you're noticing these little things, and they had so much potential. What do you do in that situation?
So I think honesty is very important. I think that we need to have, I talk about trust equity. I think you can have hard conversations if you've built trust. So if you have respect for each other, you trust each other, then it's not a great offense to say, you know what, I have to have a hard conversation with you. And the person is going to be like, oh, why? Okay, what? But they actually care, right? So I think it's really important that we talk about it. Keep the lines of communication open, talk about it when it happens. Don't wait for things to pile up. And there are a few tools around this. One, a really big one, I think, is 360 reviews. We often, a lot of organizations will have, the management will review each employee, but there is something very, very powerful when you get, if your leader tells you, you always focus on the problem and don't contribute to the solution. You might do exactly what that piece of criticism says you would do and just focus on, well, you're in my head, you're the problem. You don't see my value. You don't see that I'm helping you avoid risks, and again, just focusing on the problem. Whereas if I get a 360 review anonymously, like essentially it's the whole company or anybody that works with me telling me, it's hard to work with you because you're always focusing on the problem and on the negative, what stops us from moving forward. I can't deny it anymore. And I can't blame anyone either. I have to accept that people actually see me that way. So so that's I think the 360 reviews are huge. The other thing is, if you see somebody that reports to you acting unethically, without integrity, without respect, without alignment, with no alignment to the goals, there's an easy answer. People will say, well, just fire the person, let the person go. I think it's also really important, and this is hard. This is so hard to accept. But if you are in a role and your leader is doing unethical things, not teaching you, you're not growing, it's not a fulfilling situation, sometimes you have to fire your boss. And that's quitting, right? Because you don't get to actually fire your boss.
Right.
You might be able to. You might be able to lodge a complaint. You might be able to raise a concern to that person's boss. But sometimes we need to come to peace with the fact that I can't be effective here, not because I'm not aligned or because I don't have the skill, but because I don't have the right environment, the right structure, the right supports.
Mm-hmm.
And let that boss go. I think of bosses and employers as clients, and we do often hear organizations talk about firing a bad client. Mm-hmm. So we accept it there. So I do think that a lot of us will wait until we are at our breaking point and dread going into work, like physically can't go into work anymore. The anxiety or the nausea in the stomach is just too much to bear, and at that point, somebody might leave a job and say, I had to quit my boss because I couldn't work for that person anymore. I literally couldn't. But I think it's okay to be proactive. You don't have to walk out on somebody, look for something else, and then give them real feedback in your exit interview. I want you to know I loved the work, and I think that, these are some great things about you, but this I couldn't work with. And
right.
No hard feelings. I hope you don't take it badly, but I think it's a unique opportunity for me to share that feedback, and so I want you to do with it whatever you can do with that intel. So yeah, there's some powerful things we can do with communication, and that can be formally with things like reviews, and that can be informally another formal example would be exit interviews, but also informally by looking for other work or nurturing other leaders. I think if we all want to get to the goal, we'll adapt. We will adapt. If it's not a goal I can achieve, I won't be able to adapt, and I will fall behind, and so I won't be a leader anymore. And that's okay too. It's completely 1000% okay to fail at something if what you've actually done is succeed at understanding where you belong.
Oh, deep. That's really deep.
Yeah. So failure, schmailure.
Failure, schmailure. Perfect. Wow. You dropped some really good gems there in this podcast. What podcast live stream? We just do so many different things.
Yeah, we do. Hopefully it'll be a nice fun break for people in the middle of the day. Just come join us, and hopefully there's some awesome nuggets of information. And send me any questions. Like if something that I talked about was interesting, please hit me up. Tell me what you liked. Tell me what you want to know more about. I'm an open book. I really am an open book. Like if in the areas where I'm like, no, I will not answer that question, I'll be very honest. But as long as you hear an answer coming out of my mouth, it is my truth. It is what I believe in. So I'm at your service, folks.
There you go. That's why you're perfect for these live streams. Awesome. Well, we'll wrap this up. We're coming to a time limit, but where can people find you, Juliana?
Check me out online. You can just Google JT-CINA. That's JT China. I'm Juliana. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, everywhere. So Google me and let's connect. Don't be shy. Connect right now today. I will accept your invitation.
There we go. Connect with Juliana, guys. And of course, follow us at PayEvo on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And we'll be back here same time, same place next week. We're excited to see you guys. And from here on, I guess we'll see you in the next episode.
Sounds great.
Later, guys.
Bye.